There are times during the live streams where I'm just sitting around watching footy, reading about footy, thinking about footy. That's all the time. But there are times during all of that where a question or a concept pops up that kind of makes me stop and go, huh. You know what I'm talking about, though. We've all been there. The moments that make you wonder, what might have been, what if moments. That's what we're here to explore, you guys. Welcome back. This is the season 4 finale of What If, episode 16, I think, in total, which is crazy to think about. But that's what we're here to explore today, because there is sort of an unwritten adage in football, right, that says never go back, never go back. Many fans think that managers and players shouldn't necessarily return to clubs where they've been sacked or where they've been sold, right? I mean, hey, Jose Mourinho has a couple of Chelsea Premier League titles that argue against that, but that is what it is. But anyway, back in 2021, Manchester United had an encore for one of our legendary players, perhaps one of the best footballers to ever play the game, Cristiano Ronaldo. It wasn't all bunnies and flowers, though. But again, what if we never had that situation? What if we never had the fallout with Eric Ten Hag, the Piers Morgan interview? What if we never had any of that? What if Cristiano Ronaldo never returned to Manchester United in 2021? That's what we're going to explore today, you guys. Can't wait to hear your thoughts. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let's get stuck in. So most fans were buzzing when it was announced that Cristiano Ronaldo was returning to the Theater of Dreams in the summer of 2021. Of course, there were plenty of eyebrows raised at the notion of signing a 36-year-old, even if he was a club legend, right? But I think that all those doubts, let's say a lot of those doubts, were wiped clean. Think a brace against Newcastle on his return to Old Trafford probably had the most skeptical fans smiling at that point. It didn't take long, though, for a reality check, as Manchester United were also beaten by FC Young Boys in 2-1 in our first Champions League match of that season as well. So it all came kind of crashing back to reality. United did go on to win their next league game. They went on a run, though, after that, where we lost 5 of our next 7, which ultimately saw Ole Gunnar Solskjaer sacked in November of that season, if you guys remember, following that match against Watford. Ronaldo's goals in Europe kept United in the Champions League, sure, but it was clear that the team had become completely unbalanced by his return. In an interview with Norwegian podcast NRK, Ollie actually recalled that his assistant, Kieran McKenna, at the time, had his doubts, was one of the only people to raise his doubts at the notion of Ronaldo coming back. Kieran McKenna actually worried about how United were expected to defend or even press with Ronaldo leading the line. And later, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer actually admitted that in hindsight, while the decision seemed great at the time, it was ultimately a mistake, he thought, to bring Ronaldo back. This is what he had to say. It was probably a wrong choice for all of us, but we felt it was the right decision then and there. I think it would have turned out better for Cristiano and for us if he hadn't signed. Had he not joined United, despite the rumors, had he not joined United, Ronaldo probably he wouldn't have gone to Man City. There was a fleeting interest from City, but they moved on pretty quickly. They didn't want to pay a fee for it or his wages either. Juventus wasn't just going to let him go for free. PSG seemed like a good fit, right? The lifestyle suited him, the league probably suited him. He could probably do really well, but they had just signed Messi too, and I don't think that was going to happen. A return to Real Madrid was touted, but they were starting to focus more on the young attacking contingent of Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo at that time. So that wasn't going to happen. No, the likely outcome, had he not rejoined, would probably have been United, or Ronaldo just remained at Juventus because no one could afford him. No one wanted to afford him. I mean, we saw that when he did his big interview. Nobody could afford him, so he had to go and do that to kind of force the issue, right? So had he not joined United, he definitely would have just gone ahead and stayed at Juve, because that's just the way things were going at the time. But what about Ollie in United? What would have been different for us had Ronaldo not come back? Well, for starters, we would have stuck to our original plan that summer of 2021. Remember, we signed Rafael Varane and Jadon Sancho that summer after chasing the latter for over a year under Ollie. We might have made a late push for like a loan for a midfielder. There was a lot of talk. The only serious links at that time were a loan for Sal Niguez, who was kind of out of favor at Atletico Madrid. But reportedly, United didn't want to pay his wages, and they didn't quite see him as fitting that defensive midfield role. He definitely was more of an 8 than a 6. Edinson Cavani was our number 7 at the time. Mason Greenwood was breaking into the first team as well. There were academy stars like Anthony Elanga, Ted Mengi, Tahith Chong, all starting to get some minutes as well. This was a youthful, new-look United under Ole at the time. It was energetic, it was fast-paced, it was fluid, led by an exciting attacking line that valued youth, that valued energy, that valued high pressing up the pitch. It was a bit modern in that way as well. You had Rashford on the left, Sancho on the right, Cavani leading the line, Greenwood coming in as backup, either on the right or as the 9 as well. Bruno Fernandes creating chances after chances after chances, right? Bricked up, right? That's what we all were at that time. Now, Ronaldo was one of the best we've ever seen, but his arrival absolutely derailed the rhythm and the structure that Ole was building at that time. Without Ronaldo, United would have defended high up the pitch. They would have defended with that energy, with that aggression, pressing the opposition. And Ole said as much as well. He said that he had to change a little bit the different roles we'd gotten used to. We were one of the highest pressing teams before Ronaldo arrived. United were one of the highest pressers in the league as well. This also means without Ronaldo that the distances between the midfield and the attack, right, they would have shrank. We wouldn't have been so open. There wouldn't have been a whole lot of long balls played as well. We would have seen a completely different structure as well. Bruno wouldn't have been forced to simply force long balls to find Ronaldo in space, right? We may not have progressed further in the Champions League that season because it was Ronaldo's goals who got us into that knockout phase. But I think in the marathon that is the Premier League, I think the system, the rhythm we were building under Ole, I think that likely would have continued. And maybe instead of a 6th place finish, there would have been a strong possibility that we would have qualified for Champions League with a 4th or maybe even a 5th place finish that year. Ole probably would have made it to the summer, perhaps earned another year of backing to continue building a young, energetic, dynamic squad that was exciting to watch, that was playing on the wings, that was getting balls in the box, scoring goals for fun. I think we would have seen that. And as Cavani maybe ages out a little bit, because remember, he was a bit older, but he was still doing it, I think. And as Greenwood's legal troubles kind of came to light, remember, they came to light in the middle of that season as well. What that also meant with no Ronaldo is that the need for a striker in that summer of 2022, and maybe even the January of 2022, that need is accelerated. Don't put it past United at that time to maybe bring in an emergency stopgap loan in the final days of January. Probably still would have happened. Someone like maybe Mauro Icardi, for instance, probably would have been someone we would have been looked at the time. Luka Jovic, who was out of favor at Real Madrid after his big money move, or maybe even Andrea Bellotti. You guys remember how we did things back then. These are exactly the kind of stopgap loans we would have made. You're looking at the Igalas, looking at the Weghorst. These are the kind of things we would have done. So that maybe would have been what we did in January if the need was there. If Cavani was getting injured, obviously with Greenwood's legal situation, who knows? I could definitely see that happening. But then in the summer, though, without Ronaldo, without Cavani, all that, without Greenwood, we would have had a big number 9 shaped hole in the squad that we needed to fill. And I think that summer, United likely would have gone for one of our main targets at the time, and that is Erling Haaland. I think that obviously Ole knows him from his time at Molde. Ole loves him. We went for him. We tried to do. He ended up going to City as well. They paid a release clause. I think that's something we would have taken care of and really got that over the line. I think that with Haaland leading the line, you've got Rashford on the left, you've got Sancho on the right. Maybe Cavani still is there, maybe playing a little bit of a bit part role. I think you're going to see Bruno solidify himself as the playmaker. And instead of constantly trying to find Ronaldo, you're going to see United's attack be a little bit more transition based, like it was under Ole, like we've seen under Carrick a couple times as well. A little bit more free flowing, a little bit more like that 08 attacking. Without the egos to disrupt any leadership dynamics in the dressing room, you have a strong core as well of leaders in Maguire and Varane and Bruno, De Gea. All these guys are seen as leaders as well. Cavani's still there. There would have been stability overall as well. Stability that comes with having a plan, sticking to it, and backing a manager, that kind of stability. Without Ronaldo, there'd have been no ego-driven dressing room disruptions, no media circus every time he wasn't in the starting 11. You guys remember all that stuff? That was annoying. we would have also missed out on the Ten Hag drama that we saw left and right, which meant we also would have not had to deal with the cringy Piers Morgan interview as well. You guys remember all that as well. Um, yes, the club would have missed out on a major commercial opportunity bringing back United. Remember, shirt sales too. Now, I don't think shirt sales are as big a deal as a lot of people say. They are a bit of a myth because you don't make a ton of money, but Ronaldo's return was the outlier. He pretty much paid for himself in shirt sales as well. So that doesn't happen ever. But you're not you're Ronaldo. When you're big, you're big. But again, the club would have missed out on a lot of that. The social media engagement as well back at the time was mouth-watering when you're from a shareholder's point of view. I mean, that was just license to print money basically at that point. It was a roller coaster of a return for CR7. And honestly, what's football without a little bit of romanticism, right? Without a little bit of that just narrative, that poetry almost. What's football without a little bit of that? But I think we can all say with a reasonable amount of certainty that in hindsight, and Ollie has admitted this as well, it was the wrong move. It definitely disrupted a lot of what we were doing. It probably had some major ripple effects on not only Ollie's career, but our squad building, our recruitment, all of that. It probably had major impact on that. Remember, I've said it many times, even pebbles make big ripples. It is what it is, though, however, and it's now become another chapter in the United history books, one that we're not entirely proud of, but I think even for a lot of us at the time, there was a lot of excitement. There was a lot of joy. Again, when Ronaldo returns and bags a brace at Old Trafford against Newcastle on his debut return for the club, I mean, you have to get out of your seat. But that's how I think things would have gone. Again, I think Ronaldo definitely disrupted what we were building. We would have kept kind of going under Ollie in terms of this young, rebuild, youth-oriented, attacking-oriented, energy-oriented. Cavani's there to kind of serve as a leader as well for a young attack. We would have definitely gone for Erling Haaland. He was definitely a strong target for us. And with Ollie there, I think that bridges the gap even further. But who knows? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Make sure you make sure you subscribe to the channel. Please check those memberships as well. This has been the season 4 finale of What If. We'll have season 5 coming up within the next few months. Keep an eye out for that. But let me know your thoughts, you guys. Thank you for stopping by. I will see you guys later.